It's easy to say the rest of 2024 is looking good when you talk about Super Mario Party Jamboree, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and Mario & Luigi Brothership. Some professionals would even include Donkey Kong Country Returns, Professor Layton and Metroid Prime 4. That's 2025, you nupcakes. I would like to give you some other suggestions why the remainder of the year is looking so great. So, here are 10 awesome games for the second half of 2024. Well, 11 actually. And the reason it turned into 11 is the sudden announcement of Famicom Detective Club, Emio the Smiling Man. Is it Emio? Emio? It's the first new Famicom Detective Club entry in over 30 years, with the first two games released on the NES and a few years ago remade for the Switch. The new game is currently labeled an adventure game, but let's just say it's a visual novel, like the rest of the series. Regardless of what you think of that genre, it's a unique series when it comes to Nintendo, and I personally am very pleased by this surprise announcement. But I will say, I'm not all that pleased with the price of $50 or euros. The release date is also known, August 29th, and outside of Japan we can probably only get this on the eShop, just like with the remakes. But hey, with the new release, perhaps they come with another surprise and make this physically available. The only game in this list I wouldn't mind being buggy upon release, Yars Rising. It's the upcoming release in the ancient Jar franchise that dates back to the early 80s. So not that old actually. 2 years ago we saw Yars Recharged release on the Switch, which stayed true to the Atari 2600 original Yars Revenge gameplay-wise. Yars Rising is going a different way though, being a Metroidvania platformer. And I'll admit, the trailer did remind me of Metroid Dread, with two key differences. Visually, Yars Rising is much brighter and zoomed in, which probably plays to its strength. And the combat is much slower and more simple, which doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. Those two are likely the influence of the development company Atari hired for this title, being WayForward, which is mostly known for the Shantae series, but also worked on Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, a company with a great reputation and a long history. All in all, Yars Rising is looking like a great and fun game that releases on the 10th of September on the eShop and physically. It can be so easy to name your game. First Anton was playing with balls in Antonblast, and now the action gets explosive in Antonblast. Made possible through a very quickly 100% funded Kickstarter campaign, Antonblast is coming to the eShop on November 12th. Compared to its predecessor, graphics have been majorly improved, making it now extremely much resemble Wario and its Wario Land games. The face and the expressions, the charge moves, the 2D platforming, to me this goes beyond Wario Land inspired. This is just the new Wario Land game we've been waiting for. No wait, scratch that, let Nintendo finally continue with Wario Land as we've last seen it on the Wii, and let Summit Sphere give us more of these Anton platformers. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The game has still to be released and I'm asking for more. That kind of shows how enthusiastic I am about this one, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. You probably know that the Horizon series, though not PlayStation exclusive, is pretty well tied to Sony. But Guerrilla, the makers of Horizon, got the approval to bring the series to the Switch as a LEGO game. LEGO Horizon Adventures was one of the biggest surprises of the last Nintendo Direct, at least for me. The game should be a retelling of the original Horizon Zero Dawn. Well, the world is made from plastic now of course, which doesn't make Aloy look any better or closely resemble Hana Ustra anymore. That's the actress they use as a model for her main character. It does, however, give it a bouncy, playful appeal. Compared to the original, this game introduces the rebuilding of your home, character skins, or clothes really, but most importantly, local and online co-op play. It's planned for Q4 this year, with details about the edition still to follow. Both eShop and physical can be expected. Disney is in the habit of buying franchises, totally messing those up and then blaming the fans for their failures. But fortunately, gaming-wise they do a lot better. That's why I can be positive about the remake, Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed. That title alone deserves praise. The story is considered one of the strong points of the game, in which a gloomy world of Disney's forgotten creative efforts has to be saved with a brush. Yeah, when I summarize it like that, it doesn't sound like much, but people agree it's good. Though surely this game will not push the Switch to its graphical limits, the update on that department alone will further support bringing that story more vividly towards us. The game has been announced to release on September 24, both for the eShop and physically. And as if I haven't complained enough, there's an extremely pricey collector's edition from THQ, on which I might come back in an upcoming video. When you do something right, keep doing it. That's what Famicom, the studio behind Ys 10 Nordics, must be thinking, because for a while now, most of what we've seen from them is a Ys release or the Legends of Heroes game, with the exception of Tokyo Xanadu X Plus that actually releases soon. Ys is a very long-running action RPG series that has a hard time getting the reputation it deserves, possibly due to the earlier games being limited to Japan only. But looking at reviews, you should not underestimate these games. They are solid ones with good stories and action. Ys 10 looks like it continues to use some of its new movement abilities introduced in the last game, and has an emphasis on the duo heroes, Adol and Karja, switching between them and tying them together in combat. Plus, from the trailer, it's clear to see we get to battle with ships on the sea. Ys 10 Nordics releases on October 25th on the eShop and with several physical editions, which, of course, are to be discussed in the pre-order update, so do not miss that. I'll admit, when I saw Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time in the underwhelming Nintendo Direct of February last year, it did not appeal to me. And to be honest, it still doesn't. However, I do recognize quality when seeing the trailers, something I also thought to see when I first saw the cover of Fantasy Life on the 3DS. That game was enjoyed by many, and it's a genre that has only grown in popularity since. Compared to other virtual life games, I do think Fantasy Life can have a broader appeal, due to it having a slight more focus on story and an active gameplay. However, I do not expect fans of those other games to suddenly jump ship. The charm these kind of games bring to the table is part of the whole experience, and the me vibe is a bit lacking on that department overall. But the developers of Level 5 generally managed to push out quality stuff, and with everything said, I do think it at least deserves everyone's consideration when it releases on October 10 on the eShop and physically in Europe, with North America still a question mark. Void Busters was set in space. Now the follow-up, Wild Busters, set you up in the Wild West. Well, sort of, cause it still looks very futuristic. Just like its predecessor, it's a roguelike strategic first-person shooter with a unique-looking, cel-shaded comic book style, obviously. And sure, it has to be one of its major selling points, just don't dismiss the strategic part. Where to go, who to fight, who to play as and how to upgrade. In the end, that stuff is what's going to drive the game and makes you actually play, instead of gawking at pretty pictures. Still, that visual style along with the attitude the game speaks has to be what stands out most. The game will be released on September 12 on the eShop and physically, though I haven't seen it much around yet. And what I've seen looks a bit expensive. There's a big mystery going on at the game studio Level 5. Normally you expect Professor Layton to come and solve that, but he's too busy moving his game over to 2025. So instead we look at Decapolice, the newest IP from Level 5, which has been announced last year and should have actually already been released then. It's a crime suspense RPG in which, by the use of the virtual world called Decasim, clues of crimes in the real world can be found, but also criminals can be encountered as crime beasts and must be fought. It's an RPG after all. Since its announcement, people are eagerly waiting for it, but so far no official release date has been set. You probably suspected that was the big mystery here. On the official website, it still says 2024, but it doesn't have a rating yet, so fearful hope it's still arriving on the Switch this year, and then the dev team can fully focus on Professor Layton again. Just to attract a couple of extra viewers, I thought I'd add in a little cat video. Stray is of course the praised adventure game, set in a futuristic, decaying cybercity experienced by a ginger cat trying to find its way home. Doing so requires exploration, some platforming and some generic puzzle solving. Cat games aren't unique, and futuristic cybercities have definitely been a quite popular setting since Cyberpunk 2077, but the combination is what makes this a special experience. The Switch version is unsurprisingly visually not as outstanding as the other releases that are out already. But hey, we're used to that, and considering the effort the devs did with motion capture even, Stray on the Switch should still be an awesome game. You can find it on the eShop near the end of the year, and there should also be a physical edition. If you ever watched Scott the Woz on remasters, remakes and the sorts, you can imagine he'd have a field day with Sonic Shadow Generations. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. I'm going with that. Names these days? This game involves remasters and a new entry. At least that's my best guess so far. The new part involves Shadow in a standalone campaign in which Black Doom has resurfaced and Shadow has to do some soul searching and confront painful memories. Or perhaps that requires time travel. I do not know. But if that doesn't pique your interest, the remastered Sonic Generations might. More than 10 years after its original release, it's still well loved to this day, mostly for its great gameplay and nostalgia. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations will be available on October 25th, both on the eShop as physically. And if I can just add one thing, Sega, next time please do a voiceover in your trailer. I spent 30 minutes searching the internet and nobody knows how to pronounce your game title. And with that we ended up with 11 games to look forward to for the rest of this year. If your favorite is among it, please let me know, and if not, tell me which one you think was missing. Of course I had to limit myself here, but I'm sure other games will come up in future videos, like perhaps the pre-order update that's soon to be released. Remember, we normally still have a Nintendo Direct as well. So lots to discuss. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you haven't yet for more content. Thanks for watching and till soon.